Today on the channel, the Western Wear is here. That means only one thing. Best of 2024 countdowns roll on. In today's video, we're counting down my top 10 favorite Marvel Legends of 2024.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, back again with another top 10 year-end countdown. In today's video, we're counting down Marvel Legends. And of course, Marvel Legends been around a heck of a long time. And we've done countdowns in the past of Marvel Legends, of course. And this year felt a little different for Marvel Legends. Almost felt like a turning or a changing of the guard a little bit, as it felt like we didn't get the amount of product we usually do. We've seen them step back a bit from full-on waves, especially with Build-A-Figures this year. I believe we had 3 Build-A-Figures this year. Couldn't even do a best of Build-A-Figure countdown this year. I've done that every year, I think, on the channel. A lot of 2-packs, a lot of single packs, obviously store exclusives. Really, the ebbs and flows of a toy line is what we're seeing with Marvel Legends. And we got to be honest, we've seen almost every single character released of all the heavy hitters. And we're still getting some deep cuts, and you're definitely going to see those in this countdown here. But I know some people do moan and groan a little bit. Oh no, another Wolverine, another Captain America, another Iron Man. But we've seen that since the beginnings of this line here. But it feels like a lot of stuff has been done. Now, there's a lot more to do, obviously, but a lot of the heavy hitters have been taken care of. So it's going to be very interesting to watch the Marvel Legends brand in 2025. How they regroup, how they reset. Will we get back to straight waves with Build-A-Figures? Will it be more 2-pack, single-pack, Amazon, Target, Walmart exclusive with a dash of fan channel from time to time? It'll be very interesting to see where they go in 2025. And we know they're not doing a HasLab for next year. And I should say right off the bat here, I do have, of course, Giant Man. And I am not going to count him in this video here. I'm not going to count him as a figure. I mean, he's a giant figure, he is. But he's head and tails, and maybe not so many tails, but a lot of head. He is above the rest of the competition. And if you had to include him, for me, he'd obviously be number 1, but I felt like that really isn't fair. This is more for everything that isn't a HasLab. And I just mentioned HasLab not happening next year. Looks like they're going to a different model, which should make a lot of people, I think, kind of happy. Doesn't you don't have to pay until it ships, which is very nice. And I think that's the change into the guard in collecting since COVID. People aren't wanting to put their money up front and wait a year, 2 years, whatever it may be for something. And we're seeing the Marvel Legends team adopt that with some of the stuff we have coming in next year. So we'll stay tuned for that as well. But should be an interesting changing of the guards year in 2025. But we're here to celebrate 2024, and we're going to do it with a top 10 list. And as usual, this is my list. So it is 100% right. It is. It's my list. How could it not be? But your list, guess what? Can also be 100% right. Make sure you put the list in the comments down below. And as I always say, start off at number 10, work your way to number 1. Put the whole list down there. That's the hard part, but that is the fun part with these best of year-end lists. So without further ado, settle in. Let's kick it off at number 10. All right, we kick off the countdown at number 10. And number 10, we take a beautiful trip to San Diego. As I said, beautiful this time of year. And we go to the San Diego Comic-Con 2024 exclusive. We go to Death's Head. Now, it's funny here for me, and maybe you're like me, maybe you're not, but I always think of Death's Head, I think of Death's Head 2 from that classic comic book cover in the 90s. That was prime reading time for me. This Death's Head, I remembered when I saw it, but it's very strange that I think of, whenever I hear Death's Head, I think of the other one. But this one, extremely cool, especially finding out this year, and I never knew that he was originally a Transformers character, which, Transformers, near and dear to my heart. I do collect Transformers, I just don't open them on the channel. But Death's Head, very, very cool. I love the extra attachments for hand, weapons, things like that. An assassin, a bounty hunter for hire, a very cool story as well. You throw a cape on him, might as well be Lando Calrissian at this point, but a very fun one with very nostalgic packaging, a very cool figure as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, coming in at number 10. Countdown rolls on to number 9, and number 9 comes from a 2-pack that once again was a fan channel exclusive. We saw a lot of those in 2024 from the Marvel Legends team, but this is one we've been wanting, specifically myself. I have been wanting for a long time. So many times I almost pulled the trigger on, of course, the Mezco version, but I'm thankful I did not, as the Marvel Legend one finally came out this year. What is the number 9 Marvel Legend? It is one Lockjaw. I'm a sucker for a dog. I'm a dog owner here, and I do love the Inhumans. Anytime we can add an Inhuman to the shelf is a good thing, even if we can add their dog. You know what I mean. I don't know if he's necessarily, don't they say he's like not a dog, but he is a dog. I mean, but he's not a dog. He's an Inhuman. There it is. It's Lockjaw, of course, packaged with Crystal. Crystal, unfortunately, did not make this top 10 list, but man, Lockjaw did. Very, very fun. Walks a little statue game here, but he does have articulation on him. Extra heads, extra legs going on. There's a lot of cool stuff about this one. As I said, I almost bought the Mezco one many times, but this one in Crystal really made me realize that we need a new Black Bolt and Medusa figure. Unfortunately, it took so long to get the Inhumans. Now we got to start all over again. Just dangerous game in the Marvel Legend, but I would love to see more Inhumans in 2025. We'll see what happens, but I'm pretty happy we got a Lockjaw in 2024. So happy, in fact, he comes in at number 9. Feeling great at number 8, and the number 8 figure was one of those ones that was extra challenging this year for me. I pride myself to see and find everything at store level, and I usually do. I would say 99.9% of the time I find them in stores, but this one gave me a lot of difficulties. I missed out on the pre-order window. Those pesky work conference calls made me miss the pre-order. Thankful for good friend of the channel, Jeremy Lester. He found one of these out in the wild, and then he sent it my way, so I was very lucky to get it from him. But what happened? About a month later, what did I find? I found a couple of these at Target. My streak continues, but it is the Target exclusive Marvel Legends Warbird coming in at number 8. And a female figure, a very good-looking female figure that I don't think they understood the demand for this one here. Obviously, Miss Marvel, a lot of people call her that, myself included usually, but technically Warbird. And it looks like we got a dark Warbird coming in, of course, 2025, which will be getting the most out of our molds, of course. But a figure that was a little bit challenging, which made a little extra fun with it, I guess we'll say. But a fabulous, fabulous figure with all the pinless joints, all the upgrades. Just a very, very fun figure. So fun, in fact, comes in at number 8. We carry on the countdown at number 7, and number 7 is one of those cool deluxe package figures. A little harder to get at first, but seemed to have cooled down and fairly easy to get right now at retail from all the sponsors of this very YouTube channel. Check them out, link in the description down below. But coming in at number 7 is one of my favorite characters. When I first saw this guy, I said, whoa, what is this all about? And I'm trying to think back the first time I saw it, but we'll talk about it here in a second. Coming in at number 7 is Ghost Rider and his bike. Of course, over the years, we've got a lot of Ghost Riders from Mezco, Marvel Legends, you name it, Toy Biz back in the day as well. And this version of Ghost Rider, and I have to think the first time I ever saw Ghost Rider was, I'd heard of him, but I never really saw or read anything until a pivotal Fantastic Four issue where Wolverine, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Ghost Rider became the new Fantastic Four, and I can picture that artwork of the cover of that in my head whenever I close my eyes, if I want to, that is. And I always think of Ghost Rider on the cycle for that one there. So very, very nostalgic for me. Is it my favorite Ghost Rider bike? I don't know. It's pretty close. It's up there. But for 2024, a very fun figure. Cool to get another Ghost Rider. We've had a lot of Ghost Riders as of late between a few different companies. But this one and bike is a scene stealer. It is a shelf stealer, I should say. Coming in at number 7, Ghost Rider and his bike. Next up on the countdown, number 6, and this figure has been one I've been wanting probably for 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years, maybe even longer. What is time? We always say that on the channel, but this one speaks back to my Toy Biz child heart, the old Marvel Action Hour era. It goes to the Iron Man line, and at number 6, we go to a comic version of She-Hulk. And once again, I say it all the time, but when I close my eyes and I think of a character, and She-Hulk in this instance, this is what I think of with She-Hulk. Now, we had a few She-Hulks over the years in the Fantastic Four line. We had gray, we had green, but we never got what I was really looking for, a Toy Biz Marvel Action Hour kind of She-Hulk from back in the day, and that's exactly what we got right here. Fabulous giant-sized female figure, all the pinless joints in a beautiful green color, playing all them She-Hulk hits for me. We all think of a character and what we think they look like, and when I think of She-Hulk, this is exactly what comes to mind. So I absolutely love this figure, so much so, in fact, she comes in at number 6 in my best of year-end countdown. We've hit the halfway point of the countdown. You got your list together. Put it in the comments down below. Of course, we got videos every single day between both of my YouTube channels, and we're finishing up a ton of year-end best of countdowns of everything we talk about on this very YouTube channel, so make sure you do subscribe. But here we are at number 5, and number 5 is one of those ones I never in a million years thought we would get. I want to say it was at San Diego Comic-Con. Was it this year or last year? Once again, what is time? I can't keep track anymore. But this was one of those figures I had as a little kid. I had no idea what this one was. I would usually pretend he was Iceman in the Secret Wars and Justice League when I was playing as a kid because I thought he was Iceman, but it wasn't until many, many years later that I finally got the internet, and then I looked up some of my childhood toys that I didn't know what they were, but they mixed in between the G.I. Joe and the superpowers and things like that. What are we talking about? It is an amazing figure at number 5. It is Crystar, and little did I know that Marvel owned the Crystar. That was very wild to find out. Of course, we all know Glenn Danzig got the logo for Danzig from this comic book. Just a lot of cool stuff here, but for me, very, very nostalgic. A childhood favorite toy I played with all the time, not knowing what it was, getting a new lease on life here in 2024 in the Marvel Legends series. Very, very cool. A great figure, but even more nostalgic for me, and that's why he's coming in at number 5. It might as well be March Madness as we're down to the final 4. And the number 4 selection, if you said, Kyle, put a list together of what figures you wanted in 2024, this guy wouldn't have been on the list at all. He wouldn't even have been at the top of my mind. However, it's one of those things, when I see it, I know I want it, and that's how it was with this one. Could be the sleeper figure of the year for Marvel Legends in a lot of ways. Part of a fan channel exclusive 2-pack. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Luke. We're talking about Butch. We're talking about the Bushwhackers. What? Todd McFarlane on the couch. Todd McFarlane guesting on the couch. What? It isn't the Bushwhackers. It's not Luke and Butch. It isn't. That's wrestling. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is wrestling. This is Bushwhacker from Marvel. Oh, okay. Yes, it is the Punisher 2-pack Bushwhacker. Bushwhacker, a very cool figure, gives me Random vibes. When I look at this guy, I think, of course, the X-Men character Random, which I think we got in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, part of that box set, Amazon exclusive. But Bushwhacker is very cool. You start off with the blue color. I'm a sucker for blue. I'm also a sucker for a high collar. That means power move all day long. But then he's got the crazy hands that double as weapons. You can remove them. You can pull them around. A lot of posability, a lot of different looks you can get for this. And then what really sealed the deal for me, of course, the rat tail in back. Anybody that has a rat tail like this, especially braided up, man, all day long power moves, deserves a spot in your top 10 just for the rat tail alone. Bushwhacker coming in at number 4. We're starting to separate the men from the boys as we're at the final 3 right here. We're at the number 3 selection in my favorite Marvel Legend figures of 2024. And this one we just recently unboxed on the channel just the other day. But man, oh man, for many people, maybe myself included, this could be the definite version of this one from Marvel Legends so far. What are we talking about? We're going to the Secret Wars. We're going to Secret Wars Captain America. I understand the shield. I just wish it was a full-on shield. That limits him a little bit here in this countdown, but a fabulous Captain America. And the first time I ever found out or heard about Captain America was as a very, very small boy getting the Secret Wars Captain America figure. I didn't have a lot of Secret Wars. I had Captain America, I had Doctor Doom, I had Doom's Tower, and I had Dr. Octopus. That's all I was rocking from, of course, the Secret Wars. Now, I had the Kenner superpowers. I mixed and matched them a little bit here and there. But Captain America, the first time I ever saw him was in the toy in the Secret Wars. So very nostalgic to see this with the packaging design and the figure. Just a very cool thing. It's a little bit of history repeating itself. Like Crystar, but even bigger because I was playing with Captain America, and Captain America a little bit bigger of a star than Crystar, as we do know. But man, oh man, very, very cool. Speaking to my 80s love and heart, I can't wait to see what the Secret Wars brings in 2025. Hopefully we get another line or two out of that. We'll see what ends up happening. But one thing that's happening for sure is Captain America coming in at number 3. Now we're at the number 2 spot in the countdown, and this one could be a little bit controversial here. Of course, I grew up in the 80s and 90s as a kid. I read comic books in the 80s and 90s, but the 90s is really where I read the most of my comic books. And when you're a kid, you're wrapped up in what you're reading. And for somebody that's a little bit older than me, I know they hated this storyline, but I loved this storyline. I was currently subscribed to all the different Spider-Man comics that were coming out in the 90s for many years, and this was an integral part of that. It was part of the Clone Wars, and coming from the Spider-Man Retro line, we got the Scarlet Spider. Of course, one Ben Reilly, as we do know. I loved the whole story arc. I loved everything. I'm so excited for 2025 getting Kane. I did a video maybe a year or so ago, maybe something like that, talking about my most wanted Marvel Legend figures, and Kane was on that list. Can't wait to get that next year. But the Scarlet Spider we've had in the past, but this is truly the ultimate Scarlet Spider for me. New articulation, bright red against the blue. It is Ben Reilly all day long for me. And of course, like I said, I was such a huge fan of the comic books. This resonates for me, and that's where it really defines this is my list, because I know not everybody feels that exact way. So once again, my list, but Scarlet Spider coming in extra hot at number 2, which means there can only be one. What could be my number 1 Marvel Legend figure of 2024? Well, stay tuned. Here we go. The number 1 Marvel Legend figure of 2024 is voted by me. Once again, get your list together. Put it in the comments down below. And remember, this is my list, so it's 100% right. Just like your list is 100% right. But the number 1 selection for me is no stranger to these Marvel Legend countdowns, as a couple of years ago, he was also the number 1 figure of the year. But this one I was excited for, but until I got it in hand, and there's a lot of things that come into these lists. There's the nostalgia factor. It is the coolness factor. Do I like this character factor? But also the articulation, just the way he ebbs and flows in your hand playing around with him. This was an all-timer of a figure and was clearly number 1 for me once I unboxed it on the channel. And then I said, hey, can anybody beat him throughout the rest of the year? And nobody could, in, of course, heroic fashion, we'll call it. But from the War Journal, we got Frank Castle, Punisher, coming in at number 1 from the Punisher Bushwhacker 2-pack. Just a fabulous, fabulous Punisher figure, and it really feels to me like we don't get enough Punisher figures. Now, we've had a few over the years. We had there was a Walgreens exclusive. We had the one on the bike, of course. We had a retro card one way back when. Honestly shocked we haven't seen one in the Spider-Man animated series line as of this point in time, at least, and I could see him maybe being a retro card in the future in Spider-Man. Who knows where it goes for Frank Castle from here, but I love the all-black attack here. Of course, the Punisher skull and some fabulous weapons. There is a whole lot to like about this Punisher figure. In the Punisher War Journal, number 1 was the first time I ever read a Punisher comic book as a kid, so I was all in on that one as well. I got that in a hot trade with my friend Tom Pinelli. Shout out to Tommy out there. But the Punisher, an all-time favorite of mine, and this year, my all-time favorite Marvel Legend of 2024. Punisher War Journal Bushwhacker 2-pack takes the top spot. But what takes your top spot? Put it in the comments down below. And of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the old notification bell. We got 2 channels, videos every single day. Check out the Patreon, which everything funnels up to there. Early access, all the glamour shots, Q&As, giveaways, you name it, it's going down on the old Patreon channel. Appreciate the support over there. Check it out if you have not. ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget Tik Tok, my book, The Complete Guide to the Jakks Class Superstar Series, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and now on Kindle. And then Sir Paul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, and on Instagram. So for the Marvel Legends Top 10 of 2024, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.